At all. You all sitting here, my heart rate is pounding a little bit here. And part of that is I've either had, some of you, I've had your kids in my class. There may be a few of you that I've had that opportunity to have. And that's because I've been in Coppell for 41 years as a teacher. I've never left the classroom. I don't have a job. I've never considered this a job. It is a passion. It is something that I hold dear to my heart. Every day is a new day. Every day is a different day. I teach seniors because I just like seniors. I always knew I wasn't going to be able to do these, and so people who can teach the little ones. You told me Sarah taught second grade. Yeah, she taught second grade. Bless her. That is an age group I don't know. So my age group started at 7th grade, and I started in the 7th grade in Jacksonville, Florida. And the same year on that, Doug, I started my job. Good thing the two things went together. It really did. Hurting 7th graders, hurting Doug, kind of thing. But it was, that's where I really cut my teeth, in the sense that I had kids in an inner city school that couldn't read above 2nd grade, but they're 7th graders, they're 12 and 13 year olds. These are kids that are coming from homes that there were not as many books. Few books to no books and reading. That was not in their thing. They didn't prepare me for that in teacher school. It was like, okay, I'm going to have to be kind of innovative to see what I can do. And reading to me is absolutely fundamental. I know there's a commercial for that, but it truly is fundamental to have your ability to read. It is what will move you ahead and be successful in anything, is being able to read. So I'm looking at these group of 12 and 13 year olds thinking, if they don't get the skills to read, we're in trouble. Not just them, but us as a society, we're in trouble. So I thought, what can I do to help these kids? 2 blocks from Jacksonville, Florida was an interesting place. 7th grade centers. So they bust kids in and bust kids out to the 7th grade center. So there were 900 7th graders in this building. And so a library was about 2 blocks away. And I asked my principal, could I take my 7th graders and walk them over to the library? So I asked the kids, and I said, do y'all have library cards? I might as well asking them, do you have a credit card? Because that was non-existent. And I said, okay, well this would be something we can do. So I took them over to the library. We got them library cards. And we said, you can pick out any books that you want. Well, for these, a lot of them were picture books, because that's what they could read at the time, were just these little picture books and things that were there. And I thought, okay, just getting them into a book is going to be important. So, every 2 weeks, because this is when you had a 2-week long practice, and then we'd go back, take the books back. You can get more books if you like. They'd come back, we got more books. By the end of the year, instead of the picture books, of course, we're now up to maybe chapter books, I think they call them, or whatever. Less pictures, more words. That was the goal. And so to see their faces illuminate, because they now could read more than what they had before. And that goal, so I basically had to shelve whatever they told me I was supposed to be teaching. I did teach English, I did. I shelved away, they did that, and brought them into something, because I said, if I've got them doing this, then they can go and do whatever else it is that they need to be able to do. And so that spark stayed with me, as far as that, to see those faces. I said, I'm challenged, but I'm not defeated. I am not going to let this defeat me in any way, shape, or form. And so for the 3 years that I was at the 7th grade center, that's something that I did every year to help those kids. Several years later, and I'm also in a school that, Doug, you remember this. Her name was Audrey. First day of class, she's just waving her hand. She's so excited. I'm thinking, oh, this is exciting. She's wants to talk and everything like this. She goes, Miss Pierce. Well, I wasn't Miss Pierce, I was Miss Ross. She goes, I'm not going to be here the whole year. I said, okay. Is something, she goes, well, I'm going to have a baby. You are 13. Okay, nobody told me about this either in teacher school. What am I going to do now? And I said, oh, she goes, but this is my second one. Oh. Well, where's your first one? She goes, oh, my mama keeps it.
I said, okay. And she goes, but I'm not gonna quit school, Miss Ross. She said, I'll be back. I said, well, Audrey, I'm so glad to hear that because that's really what you need to do. Fast forward about 5 years, we have moved here to Texas. We're back visiting in Jacksonville, and I'm standing at, I think it's Rax or Arby's or some little fast food restaurant here, and all of a sudden I hear, Miss Pierce, Miss Pierce. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, who knows me here? I left. I think, here's Audrey. And she comes around and she goes, I graduated from high school, and I was just like, my heart's just, and I'm smiling like this, and but she says, but I have 4 babies now. So in full scope, she goes, like she says, I have to tell you, thank you for teaching me to read. And so why do I teach? I teach for those moments where, the kids who are really smart and already up here, they'll survive and go beyond without me. I mean, yes, I can push them, but the ones that are here that need me, that help me move them to where they need to be. So that part of my life just sparked the whole idea about teaching, and that started in 1981. So now we're here in Texas. I'm in Coppell. Never heard of the place. It was this little on your way to the airport, and that's how we heard about it. Hey, there's this town if you cut through on Beltline. So we go driving through, and there's like there is no downtown. There's a Dairy Queen.
Yes.
Yep, there's the Dairy Queen. Those of you who have lived here since '84 or in between '84 and '90 something, there was the Dairy Queen, and that was the single stoplight. No grocery store, no nothing. Local diner, the old local diner, with unmatched chairs, tables, and a gap that big in the bathroom where the rats came in. Guaranteed. Where they came in. So, good hamburgers. I will have to say, the best burgers in town was at the local diner. But I'm looking around going, oh my gosh. They said, maybe you could get a job there. Because at the time I left Jacksonville, I don't have a job now. Doug and I are living off of one little tiny salary over here, and just thinking, oh my gosh, I gotta find a job. I need something. So I go to the school board building and I walk in. I said, are there any positions available? Because I'm thinking, this isn't this giant school district. And she goes, just a minute. I said, okay. And she comes back, she goes, well, what do you teach? And I said, I have an English degree. And I said, so that gives me a wide range of things that I can teach that fall under that umbrella. She goes, as a matter of fact, we do. Okay. So now the heart's going, oh, I'm like, okay, this is good. She goes, are you certified to teach in Texas? Well, I said, I'm certified in Florida. And she goes, well, we reciprocate that, but you're going to have to take Texas history. All right, I can defend the Alamo. I have to do that. So here we go, defending the Alamo. I said, okay, I can do all that. So I come back, I tell Doug, I said, okay, I gotta get this certification and I gotta file all this stuff and everything. Doug worked at the time to work for Delta Airlines, and we did have some nice little benefits for that. I needed to get to Austin in a hurry, so they could give me like an emergency certificate instead of snail mail, and there was no computer to file it with computer. First thing, crack morning, I go to the post office to get my transcripts that I required from the universities. Go to the airport, Doug drops me off, I get on the plane, I go to Austin, I find a cab, I go to the TEA office on Congress Avenue, go in, walk in, I said, I'm here, can you tell me how long this might take? She goes, yeah, just sit down, I'll be back in about 15 minutes. Like, you're gonna tell me it takes 6 weeks by mail? For God's sakes, no wonder we're in trouble. So, they did it, I come back in, got back on the plane, come home. Next morning, I go to the CISD, here's my job. And she goes, you really do want this job. She had no idea. I thought, oh my gosh, so everything's been wonderful. I get to, now I have to have an interview. Dr. David Stanfield was the superintendent. Now, you're in Texas, small community, and everybody was a coach at some point in their career. So I thought, all right, this is way different than where I'm coming from, but okay, so I go in here. Dr. Stanfield sits, he's in his chair, he's got
can I ask you to demonstrate? Put your feet up here. Just like that, on his desk. Cowboy boots and a suit, you know, because that's very acceptable. Leans back, got his hands back here like this. Well, Miss Pierce. I'm done. So, I saw this with somebody, but I don't remember where. So he says, let's go visit and chit chat, ask me some of the typical questions and whatnot. And I have a confession. My first semester at Florida State University was not stellar. And I had to explain that non-stellar performance to Dr. Stanfield. And I did, and I had a professor there that said the only reason I was in college was to get an MRS degree. I didn't even know what that meant. And I looked at that professor and I said, what? And he goes, I know your kind. And I thought, oh boy, I'm in trouble now. So anyway, so I'm defending my non-stellar performance. But I said, but then after I said, you know, I did fine. I did really, really well. And he goes, well, you know, we got this new rule in Texas, 1984. No pass, no play. Ross Perot had been asked to come up with something in the education reforms. And had to figure out, we can't keep up with these kids, you know, just skate through. So if you want to play the sport, you're going to have to, you know, you're going to have to be passing in your classes. So he says to me, so, Miss Pierce, you have one of the star players since Friday Night Football. You didn't pass a test in your class. And I mean, like I said, my wheels are just doing this as fast as I can. And he goes, but he's needed on the field. Because don't forget, this is 1984, it's like a little 3A school, so everybody plays both ways. Yeah. So if you're down one guy, you're in trouble on the team. So he says, what are you going to do about that? So I have this, I'm feeling like 10-minute, you know, gap in my head, but, you know, I sat for a second and said, well, you know, if he's been passing all this time, there must have been something happened if he failed that. I said, I think I'll visit with him first and say, what's going on? Because maybe it was just a one-time thing, and maybe he could redo it, and we could work through that. He goes, well, that's a mighty fine answer. So I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you, God. And so he goes, well, just sit here for a minute. He leaves me in the office, and I'm standing outside thinking, okay, either I'm in or I'm out. I don't know if I fit in Texas culture here yet or not. So he gets up, he said, we'll be in touch with you in a couple of days. Okay. I start to go out the door, and he goes, Miss Pierce, you got the job, it's okay. We'll see you, come on back here the next day, we'll fill out all that paperwork you got to do. So I said, oh my gosh, thank you. So, August of 1984, I have my job. This past August, or I would have been September, Brad Hunt we're at the football game, and this man with a lot of gray beard and gray hair and whatnot, he goes, Kim, you recognize? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's Dr. Stanfield, 40 years later. And I reminded him, I said, do you remember our interview? And I started to tell him, he goes, oh my, you're that girl? I'm that girl, I'm still here. And so he was excited about that. So that was where I started. So that's how I started in Coppell, and I taught 9th graders. Which that was a step up from the 7th graders. So taught 9th grade, and I also taught speech class, because you could take speech in place of having an English 4 or whatever it was kind of thing. And so several of those kids I had in there still, of course, are in this community, and I see them. They're all married, they have families of their own, because they were 18. I wasn't that much older than what they were at that time. And now, you know, they stay here and they are part of this community as well. And that's what happens when I walk. You know, I go to the grocery store, there isn't a place that I go. I always have to put makeup on, because I'm sorry, if I run into somebody in Coppell, I gotta look good. So when I'm out there, because so many people, the kids have grown up, but they come back. I have one sitting in my class, 1990. When did Jimmy Johnson get hired for the Cowboys? 89.
89, 90, okay. And so when he moved here, coming here, they brought a lot of people with him. So we had a lot of families that moved in because they were at Gowan Ranch, but they were buying in Coppell, so their kids go to Coppell schools. So met several of them, and I had Dave Campo had, it's a weird way to say this. He had two stepchildren, Eric and Angie Abeda. And I remember them clearly. Eric was the star quarterback. He was quite the athlete. Angie was drill team, because that was everybody did that. It was drill team, cheerleader, band, or something. But they were all involved. And I'm sitting in my role this year, and I see the name Abeda. And I said, well, that's not a very usual name. I mean, it's not like Smith or Jones or something like that. And I'm looking at this girl, and I said, Skylar? I said, are you related in any way to Angie or Eric? She goes, Angie's my mom. And I went, oh my goodness. She goes, but don't hold Eric over me as my uncle. And I said, no. So I'm seeing now those kids that I had now are bringing their kids in. And went senior year, so that's a lot of years of being out there. I've Lee Walker, who's on the school board. Her husband, Ray Walker's mom was our son's pediatrician. Ray and Lee got together, and so, they're Lee Walker. Their son, Jackson, who is graduated from Duke.
Yeah.
I had Jackson, I had Lee, I had Ray. So there's been like I said, a family going here that's part of that. But people will ask me, why am I still teaching? Most people run into me, that I've been here forever and say, aren't you retired yet? No, I'm not. I don't have an expiration date on my back. I'm not a use by, like in your refrigerator on a tree. I still get up every day and I love what I do. I love to work with kids. And now go back to that reading. They've lost that skill along the way. And that thing that sits in front of us in here has been my number one. I hate the thing, but I have a love affair with it too. In the sense that, yes, it's a wonderful technological tool, but at the same time, it has absolutely kind of cratered kids' abilities to be creative thinkers, to be critical thinkers. They are consumers of information, but they're not very good producers of information. They don't particularly care, when I'm saying, have you read any good books? I don't read. That'll put up in there. I said, you need to develop that lifelong love for reading. I said, you're gonna have to do it no matter what. But I said, when you can read literature, and I know that's a big word, but when we read fiction, I said, we get to live vicariously in places that we would never want to have to go through, but we get to experience what that was like. When you read books from the 19th century, we read books from the 18th century. Yeah, I know you're going way back then, but I said we're gaining things about who we were as a culture, what we were as a society. What did we value? What are those things that are there? I said there's so much value to when you can read and like I said, pick up a book and read it. So I'm still, that's going to be my forward, advance. I got to keep getting books in kids' hands. If you walk in my room, I have just bookshelves. That's what's on there. And maybe through osmosis, maybe they might read them. Not sure. Maybe we can figure out some way. But that's the hardest thing that I see that I fight against is the technology part of them not wanting to figure things out. I just want to Google it and tell me the answer. I'm sorry, that's really not what I'm asking you. What do you think? What do you think will happen? Hamlet's in a precarious situation. His mother has married his uncle who killed his father. What is he going to do? And I don't want crickets. I want them to think about what's going to happen. What can we learn from what is it? Shakespeare's great. I know, roll your eyes all you want. Shakespeare, he didn't even write in English. Yes, he did. It may not be what you normally talk, I got that. But his stories are there. He understood the human condition. So getting kids to answer good questions, getting them to think about things, not go, this is what AI says. We're not even going down that path. I'm not even going down the AI path per se. And an aside would be this. Some of you may use it because you have to write something. You think, I need to put something in because I really want to clean this up a little bit. So you ask AI to help you, or is it open and GMAT and GPT, and there's an array of other things that are there. Problem with our kids, they want to type it in and they want to put it in, and whatever spits out, they're fine with it. Oh, this is great, yeah, we're going to turn this in. They don't have the foundational skills to recognize this isn't really what I asked it to tell me. This isn't really punctuated as well as it should be. You might have those things in there. Do you really talk like this? I don't think so. That's the first cue. They turn something in that's beautifully written. You didn't write that, sorry. You didn't write that, and I don't think your mom did either. So yeah, we have those. So it's teaching them, having to figure out how I don't allow the AI in our room. I don't. They have to produce it. They have to write it on paper, yellow legal pads, and a black pen. And you find, and research has shown us, that connection between actually using the physical hand to write and your brain is actually, it effectuates a part of your brain where that creative power is and allows you to do the things you need to do. Typing it does not do the same thing. It uses a different part of the brain for that. And so, I'm encouraging that, even though my AP exam, in which I've been teaching AP, which is advanced placement, it's the English literature, and there's an AP Lang course that's out there as well. But on the AP, we've gone digital this year. I am not a happy camper. Can't fight College Board. So what we're doing though up until that time, maybe a couple of weeks before they're due, we'll practice on the screen. But while they're in class, they will use paper and pen. That is what I'm going to ask them to do. So as a gatekeeper, sending them out into the world. Some of you may hire some of them. Some of these may be your grandkids. Some of these may be your own children per se, and helping them navigate the world. It's changed. It is not the same school we went to at all. What is the same? Kids. Kids are still kids. Kids still have teenage drama. Oh my gosh. There is enough of that down the hallway. They have things too that I don't think I'd want to be a 17-year-old again, ever. Of things that's in their world. But again, I blame it on that. That has changed how they navigate the world. So our role, my job, and I'm not leaving yet, is to help get that navigating in there. You had introduced that I'm the CHS campus teacher of the year. Long time coming, I will say that. I was always the bridesmaid, not the bride. Twice I had been nominated before, but it has been one of those that I'm kind of the quiet one. I'm not shouting out there when I was in school, look what I do. That is not who I am. I'm in my room and I'm doing my job. And I'm helping my kids. And I'm helping young teachers. I mentor young teachers to help grow them as well. So being named the teacher of the year is an incredible honor for me, and I'm thrilled. I'm probably the oldest teacher of the year candidate that's ever been down there. And that's okay. I'm thrilled and I'm honored, and I represent my campus. I'm waiting for them to name a wing after me, maybe. Well, I wasn't Barbara S. Austin, who was president of the school board, or Buddy Ecklefield, superintendent. But I thought maybe if I could get maybe in a room in the library, Kim Pierce room, then I'll leave. Because then I don't want to cheat what I need to do. But I love teaching. I love working with young kids. I like picking their brains. I like, and there'll be sometimes I'll ask a question and it's crickets. That's the worst feeling ever. So then you're going in your toolbox. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And finding other ways to get them engaged. Talk about movies. Talk about music. Talk about books. Oh my gosh, yeah, books. Yes, talk about books. Any way that I can, keep getting them engaged, pushing them forward. So I'm going to stay being a teacher, until Doug's, that's it. Doug won't let me retire yet. Just so you know the real reason. He's not going to let me retire yet. But I wouldn't want to. This is my purpose, and I love what my purpose is.
my identity is a teacher, and I'll have to figure out, I know they always say there is life afterwards. I don't know what that looks like yet, so I'm not ready to explore that yet. So I'll keep teaching as long as Coppell ISD will keep me. I will continue to love on my kids. I'm hard on them. I'm sending them off to that 4-year university. For most of them, like I said, 90% of them, say in my class, are pursuing post-high school work and telling what the real world is like. And so I give them those experiences. So sometimes when they'll come in, well, can I no, it was due yesterday. Sorry. Your professor next year is not going to say, oh, sure, I know you had a hard day. No, that's not going to happen. So trying to make that connect, sever off all these supports we've got, not in a bad way, but letting them become accountable, letting them become advocates for themselves. I also told them, your parents can't call. You cannot call and complain to the professor about something. They won't take your call, and they won't respond to your email. Your kids are on their own, and so they have to learn what that looks like. So advocating them to become young adults, and that too is a full-time job. I have them in my class all week long on here, 180 days as we go through, and hard to believe that we are almost into February. They are getting their acceptance letters to colleges now. They are, setting up those kinds of things. They're getting excited. Some aren't going to hear yet for a while. March, I think, is the next thing. Some are rolling admissions. Some are a variety of other things. When one kid doesn't get it, and you see the tears, and you want to tell them there is a college for you somewhere. Might not be UT, might not be A&M, might not be Stanford. I'm sorry, but helping them navigate, because failure is part of life, and how you deal with that failure is also important. So I have multiple hats when I'm in my classroom. Yes, I'm an English teacher. Yes, I want them to read. Yes, I want them to be able to write well. Yes, by all, write well without the use of aids, or how to use them correctly, and then how to be a good person, and what you're going to do as an adult when you leave Coppell High School. What are you going to do? How are you going to manage in the world? How will you navigate your world? What lessons will you take from class? And they might not be anything about Shakespeare or anything about Hemingway or anything about anybody, but what will you take with you to help you? So that is why I teach. That is why I will stay teaching. When Doug says I can quit, I'll let you know. When Bonnie says yes, Kim, you get to retire. But I don't have that desire yet. I just really, really love what I do. So thank you for letting me speak to you about my experiences. I did have one last thing. And I wrote down by the numbers, and this was just kind of an off-the-cuff kind of thing. I've taught 7,380 days of a 180-day school year. That's many I've done. That's just in Coppell. Total would be 7,900. I've had 6 superintendents, 8 principals. I was only one of 14 teachers hired in 1984. In my tenure, I have probably taught over 4,800 students, which is a lot. I've only had one husband. Our son went to Coppell ISD. He was at Austin and Middle School East, and then Coppell High School. When we got computers, remember trash 80s? They were called TRS in those 80s. They were like the size of a, they were big and huge. And it was DOS language. Oh my gosh, I couldn't remember anything about how to type in to even get into those programs. Thank God for MacBooks and whatnot that came out that was user friendly about how to sign into something. But I did have a Mac computer in my class. That little gray box thing, looking thing with floppies. Yeah, I pulled a floppy out one day and I showed kids. I said, what is that? Okay, you're showing my age. I got it. Technology-wise, like I said, we have gone from, do you remember Ditto machines? And it had that purple thing on it, and you used to do this, and it smelled so good. I will tell you, my theory is, we didn't have ADHD back then because kids were medicated from the purple ink.
It was perfect. Well, then they moved to mimeograph and Xerox machines. They don't have smell. So that went away, and then we had other issues. We got a Xerox machine at Coppell High School that looked like a small Volkswagen. I mean, that thing was giant, kind of thing, huge thing, and it took forever to actually run them. But we thought we had really joined the 20th century with a Xerox machine. And let's see, different committees that I've been on. I've taught AP, which is the Advanced Placement College Board, get college credit courses for 32 years. So that's been my passion for the AP. And just a split about the exams. Your kids or your grandkids may be in AP classes, and they take the AP exams in May, they're national exams, and then they're scored and they can get their college credit. When I became an AP facilitator, I was helping with AP, but I got named a position where I got to officially do all things AP. We gave 1,265 exams to 692 kids. This year, we will give 5,209 exams to over 1,966 kids. It's a huge number. It's almost, to kind of put that in perspective, total number of students enrolled at Coppell High School this year is 3,027. Yeah, that's a lot of bodies. So of that, over 50%, almost 60% of them are taking an advanced course, which is good. That's what we want to see them do on there. And then what was my last one that's in here? Oh, I have been in the same rooms as C215 since 1993. Moved down there. Matt was in kindergarten when I moved into that room. Before I was in B217. When we moved into the high school in 1989, we had 400 total kids in the school. That was glorious. It was just glorious. But of course, year after year after year, we just kept growing and growing and growing. So our population, of course, has grown at that point. And when we moved in there and I had moved rooms, we had boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. Matt was up there, and his little buddy across the hall, her son was there, and they were building Box City of all these boxes. It kept them entertained, kind of thing. But I got moved into my room in 1993. Kids still come back and they look and they go, oh, the room looks the same. It hasn't. It's been painted and it has had new carpet put in, but it's what's on my walls. And it's the stuff that makes it fun. There are authors on the walls and Shakespeare's on the wall and all the things that I have. Those are just the best posters ever. And they're still part of what made my classroom that. And so they come in and they're excited because it's still the same classroom. It still has that same. She goes, I'm so glad. I go to my college classes, there's nothing on the walls. I said, no, you're just using a room. It's not the same thing. So I've been in that same classroom. I told them, I said, they can't move me out. You'll have to pry me out with something, but I'm not leaving that room. And then someone just said to me, will you leave all your stuff when you leave so we can have it? I said, doubly thrilled, because he isn't going to want it in a garage. I can tell you that on that part. So those are just some interesting numbers that I had, and it's just kind of been an amazing journey for me. It's not done. I don't know what will transpire. I'm going back next year. I will be working again next year. So thank you for letting me tell my crazy journey of education, and know that I do love what I do, and I try to tell young teachers, love what you do and it's never a job. Love what you do, and it's never a job. So thank you.